Welcome to another episode of Montclair News Lab. I'm Louis Bianzalillo. We have a lot in store for you today, so here's what's coming up. First, two New Jersey towns, two totally different voting experiences.
I've never measured the math of economic levels, who participates more.
How one rescue team in a small town is dealing with an unexpected consequence of the pandemic.
You weren't sure what you were getting yourself into.
Later, COVID takes a toll on those who get infected. But what about the nurses?
They don't tell us what to do when we're going through it.
All these stories and more coming up for you today on Montclair News Lab. New Jersey has a diverse population with cities and towns with both high and low income families. Our reporter Eric Rivera tells us that where you live might make a difference in how easy it is to vote, especially this year.
Tenafly, New Jersey. Beautiful parks, a great education system, and a thriving local economy. The median income is $150,000. The poverty rate is less than 4%. Tenafly Mayor Mark Zinna says the town is ready to vote by mail and drop boxes.
So we typically have 6 polling locations. We're going to have 3 of them open. Looks like 3, maybe 4 we'll have open. You'll be able to drop your ballots off there.
Paterson, New Jersey is a troubled town with a struggling economy and crime problems. The median income level is $31,000 and the poverty rate is 37%. Mayor Andre Saig says voting in Paterson is complicated. What obstacles do you see Paterson facing regarding voter turnout?
If you've never received a ballot in the mail, you may not know what it is. You could very easily throw it out. I'm also concerned about mistakes that could be made in the future. And then obviously because it happened before, it could happen again.
What happened before was that in May, 19% of votes cast in the runoff for city council were disqualified due to signature mismatch. It's not just an issue in Paterson, it's an issue near and dear to the president's heart. He actually tweeted about it at the time. He wrote, "Bad things happen with mail-ins. Just look at the special election in Paterson, New Jersey. 19% of the ballots, a fraud."
Donald Trump tweeted about Paterson. And if he's going to tweet about us, at least he should spell our city's name right. He's oversimplifying. He's saying that 19% of those ballots were fraudulent. It wasn't due to voter fraud. It was errors that were made and they were identified by the Board of Elections. So I want to assure Patersonians that the Board of Elections is fully aware. Obviously law enforcement agencies are watching.
I spoke with Hanel Patel at the New Jersey Institute of Social Justice about the challenges Paterson faces.
In Paterson, in other cities where people are more low income, and where, we have this pandemic and people are we're just seeing so much housing insecurity right now. So are people forced to move? Are they receiving the same mail versus compared to most people in suburbs who are much more steady?
Do you believe that because of the higher income level, because of the higher education level, that its citizens are more engaged in their civic duty than, say, like an urban city like Paterson?
So, I know some of the people from Paterson. I wouldn't call them shrinking violets when it came to expressing their rights or their viewpoints or their involvement in the community. I've never measured the math of economic levels, who participates more. But the residents of Tenafly participate at a very high level. Our elections, people are very engaged in, debating who the candidates are, what the issues are.
I believe we're going to have a high turnout only because everyone's getting a ballot. And if they do know, if they've learned from whatever we've put out as far as information is concerned, they'll participate.
Both mayors stress the importance of change in their communities, and that begins at the ballot box this November through civic engagement and education. For Montclair News Lab, I'm Eric Rivera.
Frontline medical professionals are miracle workers, but where do they go when they need a miracle? Michael Banovic reports.
Nurses across America have been suffering signs similar to PTSD due to the trauma caused by working with and losing patients to COVID-19. Serena is a 24-year-old nurse working her first full-time job at a small hospital in New Jersey, which she has asked us not to disclose so she can be candid with her experiences. She thought she was ready, but nothing prepared her for the emotional tolls that COVID-19 would bring.
During COVID, that was the first time that I ever had a panic attack. Came home and was crippled by my anxiety, crying and just feeling all of these overwhelming emotions. I had horrible nightmares. My head would hit the pillow, and then all day I would just dream about work. It felt like I never left. It was just consuming me.
There was one experience in particular that stuck with Serena.
I took care of a friend's family member who passed away on a vent in our COVID unit. I will never ever forget the night that he passed. It was so devastating. But I knew his family, and I knew his son and his wife, and I just knew that they were going to be destroyed from his passing. And I cried the whole way home, and he was just the worst one. But there were so many patients that we tried so hard to save them, and we just couldn't.
Serena says nursing school, in her case Chamberlain University in North Brunswick Township, never prepared her for the emotional tolls.
We are taught how to take care of people going through this. They don't tell us what to do when we're going through it.
Linda Flynn, Rutgers University Dean of Nursing, says teaching nurses how to cope with the emotional roller coaster is essential.
Many schools across the country also are hosting and offering these residency programs. It's practice with a preceptor, with a mentor who helps the graduate deal with, cope with, adjust to the everyday realities of on the job. Part of resilience training is making sure that you take care of yourself, making sure that you're realistic about what you can impact and what you can't.
Despite all the heartache, however, Serena never doubted her career choice.
I would choose nursing every time. I've said a million times I saw a lot of people die because the vast majority of them did who came to the ICU and were on vents, but I also saw a good handful of really good people get better and leave, and that was what made it so worth it.
I'm Michael Banovic, reporting from Montclair News Lab.
Joining me now is Diamond Jordan, the event chair of student life at Montclair.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Diamond.
Thank you.
How are you handling the pressure of this position?
The pressure isn't that bad. I do have a good e-board behind me, so whenever I do need help, I have a strong, team of women that help me out, and they're always there for me, especially during a pandemic. And having to constantly, change things because of the protocols. We're opening up more.
How has SLAM been creating events during these unprecedented times, like you said, during COVID and all the social distancing guidelines?
In the beginning, everything was shut down. So I'm like, okay, what can we do? And then it's stuff started to open up. I'm like, okay, so we can have on-campus events. Okay, how many people could be here? How many people could be there? Time slots, sanitation, things like that. An event I put on last week was a pumpkin patch and painting event.
Mm-hmm.
I purchased 200 pumpkins and I walked away with 5. It started raining, but we did get over, I want to say 140 quote unquote tickets.
Wow.
Bought, so that was pretty good. Hopefully homecoming brings out even more people. So
that's great for you guys, and I really do think homecoming is going to bring out a lot of people. What can students expect in the next few weeks and next semester for student life at Montclair and some of the events that you guys are going to have?
Big things are coming from SLAM. We definitely have a lot of things planned on a big scale, especially because the spring we didn't really have one last semester because we had to go home. And a lot of the executive board is seniors. So it's we want to go out with a bang. We had to redeem ourselves.
You got to. You got to sit there and redeem yourself.
Obviously, it is getting colder. So a challenge is breaking up time slots. And okay, how many, I have 50 people a time slot. Okay, the time slot has to be in probably an hour long so students can actually enjoy it. And a challenge for us is for homecoming, it's the event, because the event times are longer this year compared to the other years because of the time slots. So it's they're back to back. So as volunteers, that's why I need so many hands on deck.
Once again, thank you so much for joining me today, Diamond. Take care and stay well.
Thank you. Have a great day as well.
Montclair State soccer fields have been put to good use by professional women's soccer team Sky Blue. Tatiana Costa from the Red Hawk Sports Network reports.
These past 2 Saturdays have been historical for Montclair State University. For the first time ever, MSU hosted a professional women's soccer game. New Jersey Sky Blue FC played their 2 home games for the National Women's Soccer League's fall series at Pitzer Field and MSU Soccer Park. The general manager of Sky Blue, Elise LaHue, was excited to have Sky Blue play at MSU and said, "Many teams call Red Bull Arena home right now, which creates a scheduling challenge." Thankfully, we have a great relationship with Montclair State University and will have an opportunity to showcase their excellent facilities during the fall series. Their first game on October 3rd was played against the Washington Spirit. It was a close game, but the Spirit took home the 3 points in a 1-0 win over Sky Blue. That game was Sky Blue's first home game in over a year. This past Saturday, Sky Blue came out on top, beating the Red Stars 3-1 in an exciting matchup. Like in most sports around the world, no fans were allowed to attend the game, but we still had some big names come out to support. As this tweet by Montclair State University shows, Governor Phil Murphy and his wife came out to support Sky Blue FC at Pitcher Field. Both games are streamed online for fans to be able to watch and support from the comfort of their own home. Even with online streaming, some fans could not resist and made their way to the Red Hawk deck to watch the game. This included Sky Blue FC supporters group Cloud9.
It's been surreal. I think we thought they'd be playing at Rebel Arena, so once they said Montclair, we kind of knew about the deck and schemed to get over here. But it's been absolutely surreal watching live soccer.
That is all of the women's soccer games being played at MSU for now, but we hope to have them back on our campus sometime in the future.
New Jersey residents have been finding new ways to entertain themselves. Here's how one town is dealing with the increase of hikers in their local state forest.
Since the start of COVID-19, people have been leaving the crowded shopping malls and heading to the great outdoors. What they don't realize is how vast those woods can be.
Every weekend, hundreds of people flock to the small town of Bloomingdale, New Jersey, to hike the trails of Northern Green State Forest. With 2,150 miles of trails that connect 4 neighboring towns, as well as to the Appalachian Trail, it's easy to get lost in. Which is why Bloomingdale has its very own search and rescue team, a volunteer-run organization to help find lost hikers.
My name is Al St. Jacques, and I'm the team leader for the Bloomingdale Search and Rescue Group. So when we started back in 2004, we put together a team. We were trained by NASAR, National Association of Search and Rescue, and we started taking calls into the woods all hours of the day and night. We've had calls as late as 9 o'clock. We had one that was like 2 in the morning.
Usually calls come in only 8 to 12 times a year, but in March, when the state parks reopened, calls became more frequent.
That first week we got 4, one the day after it opened, and then subsequent days after that. There may have been 1 day off in between.
Search and rescue member Steve Marusi joined the team in January 2020.
When the park first opened up during the lockdown and the calls started to come in, what was going through your mind as you're getting called out 2 to 3 times?
It was really nerve-wracking. It was really, you weren't sure what you were getting yourself into. But the team is great. The senior members of the team are very experienced. In general, the positive feedback of the hikers who were lost, just thanking us for the time. They don't really know that a team like this even exists. So it ends up becoming a little bit of an education for them on. We don't want to school them on what you did wrong, but we usually talk to them a little bit about next time you probably want to do this, bring that, be a little more prepared.
Walking on the Northern Green trails in the daytime alone is hard enough. Here is the same trail pictured at 3 different times of the day. The last one with only a phone flashlight, which is what most people are left to walk with when they come in unprepared.
It is all about preparedness, making sure that not only are they researching where they're going, but researching what they should bring. And what we find a lot in Northern Green is that not a lot of people don't bring a map, they don't bring extra water, they don't bring a flashlight. I think in most cases, if they had a map, they probably wouldn't get lost.
In a time of uncertainty, one thing is guaranteed. Northern Green will always be watched over by this group of guardian angels. For Montclair News Lab, I'm Erica Steenstra. Stay safe, stay smart, and happy trails.
Follow us on social media on Instagram and Facebook at Montclair News Lab, on Twitter at MSU News Lab, and catch up with us on our website at montclairnewslab.tv for more.
Before we go, let's hear from our friend Rocky the Red Hawk on ways to stay smart and stay safe on campus.